So this last weekend, UFC 299, Dustin Poirier knocked out Benoit Denis in the second round, and Benoit had a good performance. I can't take anything away from him for that, and Poirier had a pretty good performance too. But my main take right here is I just kind of want to talk about Lucas Tracy on how bad of a take he really had, because if you watch his videos, he was talking that you know, Dustin Poirier doesn't got it no more, and Saint Denis is just gonna run right through him and not even make it close. And some parts of the first round, it did look pretty dominant from Saint Denis. He was taking him down at will, doing whatever he kind of wanted. But if you really watch the fight, Saint Denis couldn't really get anything off on the ground on Poirier. Poirier just kept pulling his dumbass guillotines like he always does. But if Poirier wasn't making these mistakes and actually tried to defend the takedowns, he probably would have knocked out Saint Denis even faster. And that was kind of the main problem that Lucas Tracy was looking over, was Saint Denis's striking defense. He just thought he was going to tough it out and he'll be all right. When I guess it works on lower level opponents, who do you fight? Moises, and he fought the guy that knocked out Drew Dober. Those guys, they don't have that kind of power. They don't have that kind of technique. They're not high level. There's a reason that they're bumping around the top 15, barely even hitting the top 15. Is because they're not top 5 opponents. And Dustin Poirier showed levels in this fight, and it was very clear. And I think that's one big thing that Tracy was looking over, was just the experience. That Poirier is actually a top 5 guy. I mean, look at all these other guys that tried to break into the top 5, and they all failed. Beneil Dariush was the favorite to beat Charles Oliveira and got knocked out in the first round. There's just levels to this. Justin Gaethje beat the shit out of Rafael Fiziev. Some people say it was a robbery, but pretty close fight, whatever. But Fiziev was supposed to go through and just dominate and knock out Justin Gaethje, and it didn't happen. So, these guys, some of these guys, sometimes like Lucas Tracy, he loves to get on these weird points where he just knows it. I know, I have a great feeling and blah, blah, blah. I know it's going to happen, and this guy doesn't have it no more. Why do you think Poirier doesn't have it? Because he got knocked out by Gaethje? That's not a bad knockout to have, you know what I mean? Sure, his chin might have been slightly worse, but I think Poirier's chin holds up all the time. He's been knocked out before, and he's come back and looked great. So he was looking over a lot of things of Dustin Poirier's career, and he was just glazing Saint Denis way too much. Now I understand the hype and why Lucas Tracy was so hyped on Saint Denis, because I mean, every time he picked him, he was telling us that he was going to knock out Matt Frevola in the first round, and he did. A spectacular knockout. And that if you watch his fights against Moises and who else did he fight? I should have looked into a little bit more. But the guys that he was fighting, he was dominating him. He was breaking them, which I understand. I understand the hype around this, but those guys aren't in the top 15 even, I think Moises maybe is ranked. I'm not even sure. Matt Frevola was ranked number 14. What was it? Maybe 14, because he knocked out Drew Dober. Even then, that was a pretty early stoppage. Everybody knocks down Drew Dober like that. You know what I mean? But I understand, the wins he has, and he looks dominant over these guys. But I think he let that kind of get to his head way too much. I understand that against Poirier, it's the stylistic matchup sucks. Poirier sucks against grapplers. He showed it time and time again. But just because you're beating, barely top 15 guys doesn't mean that you're not the same level as a Charles Oliveira or a Habib. These guys are top level. And I mean, Dustin Poirier was going toe to toe with Charles in the first round. You know what I mean? It's just when Charles started taking him down and, the glove grab happened. But once Charles got on top, then, obviously it was kind of done for Poirier. But I feel like he was just looking too much into, wow, the dominance of Saint Denis, and he's looking for the finish at all times. But looking for the finish also means you're gassing yourself out. And a lot of people are gonna go back and say, well, Saint Denis had staph infection. Probably true, and he himself said it. He has staph infection. I mean, he has a mountain on his forehead from that. And I get it. It probably did affect his cardio. But at the end of the day, I don't even think it came down to cardio that much. If it wasn't in the second round, what would have been at the end of the second round or in the third round? Saint Denis hasn't. I don't even think he's gone 3 rounds yet, because he finishes every single opponent pretty fast, first, second round knockouts or submissions. He hasn't had to push himself for that kind of pace. That's why he runs at everybody. I mean, look at the first round. Rewatch that first round of Poirier. The pace was crazy. That was a harder pace than Poirier and Oliveira had. But obviously, Poirier has that kind of experience. He understands the pace. He understands how to pace himself. Saint Denis doesn't understand that. He's just going for the finish at every second he can. Even at the end of the first, he was looking pretty gassed out. And I was watching it, and I was saying, it's a great pace, but nobody can do that for 3 rounds, 5 rounds. It's not going to happen. Poirier has showed to have great cardio, even whenever there's some bad moments, some wrestling and stuff like that. He still looks pretty good. He can go into 3rd, 4th, and 5th looking pretty decent. I wasn't too sure about Saint Denis. All these videos that Lucas Tracy was making, it was making me kind of want to pick Saint Denis, but I just couldn't, man. It's a veteran in Poirier, and I think that I was thinking ahead of time that his ground game is good enough to stop Saint Denis from getting rear naked chokes and all this stuff, and it showed up to be. And it turned out to be just good enough. Saint Denis got on his back. He got him in some pretty bad positions, but he couldn't do anything with it because Poirier is good. Everybody likes to clown his ground game, but he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's pretty good in jiu-jitsu. He's not just going to get subbed by anybody because they're pretty good at wrestling or they're good at jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? It's only like a Charles Oliveira or Nurmagomedov that'll take them down and that'll actually dominate and get what they want. He's not no Justin Gaethje. And some of Lucas Tracy's videos, he was saying, I don't think anybody beats Saint Denis besides maybe an Oliveira or Islam Makhachev. Look what happened. All of a sudden now he's sitting there, I think Michael Chandler can probably beat him. I think I think he still says that he would beat Justin Gaethje. I don't think so. I think Gaethje's takedown defense is too good and his striking is way too good. And the power, especially after getting knocked out cold by Poirier, I don't think Saint Denis is gonna have that good of a future for a while. He might go into like a Kevin Lee type of career, in my opinion. I don't think he's gonna be all that with that gas tank. Even without the staph infection, I don't think he would have lasted much longer. I think maybe he would have gotten another couple minutes out of it, and that's it. You can't push that kind of pace and expect to just be able to ride it out for a couple of rounds. He has a really finish-heavy style, and it's cool. It's great for highlight reels and all this stuff, but it's not the best to get wins in the top 5. It's not going to get you there. You have to pace yourself properly, and he just doesn't understand how to do that. So I want to quote a couple of more things from Lucas Tracy and just kind of see what he was saying, because I think he was overlooking this shit way too much. He was glazing him beyond belief, and people are calling him out, man. He made 3 separate videos on Saint Denis. 3 videos, and all of it turned out to be shit. You know what I mean? People are calling him out for it, and he had pretty good points, Honestly, when I was watching his videos, I was like, he's kind of right. Like, he has good points, but I think he just forgot that it was against shit opponents, like guys that are barely cracking into the top 15, when Poirier's been in the top 5 for ages at this point. Poirier has been fighting in the top 15. He's been ranked longer than Saint Denis has even been training MMA. Think about that. Obviously, he's a veteran in this game. He understands this stuff, and he's going to win this shit. Now, picking Benoit in this matchup wasn't a bad pick, in my opinion. I think it was a pretty, like a coin toss type of fight. In my opinion, the odds should have been like a -110 for either, because it could go either way. If Benoit really dominated and showed the levels that he was showing against, some of the other opponents, it made sense to pick him. His striking was pretty decent. His defense was always garbage, and he always kind of bum rushed everybody. But sometimes it works even at the highest levels. It's just pretty rare, you know what I mean? But I just don't like the fact that Lucas is now just saying, oh, well, he had staph infection, so that affected his cardio. And that's why he looked like shit on the feet, and that's why he gassed out so fast. But if you look at any Benoit fights, he does the same thing in every single fight. He literally bum rushes these guys, and if you can't handle it, you're gonna lose. But someone that's top tier and in the top 5, has been in the top 5 for a long time, who's fought for titles already 2 times. I think he can handle some pressure. You know what I mean? He can handle it. And the gas tank, okay, maybe you can give it up to the staff, but it doesn't really give him an excuse to have horrible striking defense, and he's had it every single fight. Watch any of his fights, his hands are always down low, and he's always getting tagged up by guys. It's just these guys don't have power like Poirier, and you can't really make excuses for him. You know what I mean? He came in there and he did the same thing he does against, number 15 ranked guys, and it didn't work out for a number 3 ranked guy. You know what I mean? That's just how it came down to. You can't really make excuses. I think he's young, so he can still make a good run. Maybe he'll be a champion someday. Who knows? But he can definitely make improvements, and I'm just excited to see where he goes from here. That's really it. I just had to shit on Lucas Tracy a little bit. I love his videos, but sometimes when he just goes really hard on some of these guys that are unproven, it pisses a little bit of people off. It kind of annoys me a little bit with the glazing here and there, but I guess that's what makes his videos interesting.